Hello and welcome back! Today we are going to talk about the potential movie plot for a Spider-Man crossover, which will probably contain characters from all previous franchises. This can be quite tricky because the plot also needs to make sense from a narrative point of view. In this video, I'll give my honest preview on how a potential next Spider-Man should look like. I'll also point out key components that can activate previous Spider-Man actors and give them a feel that suits modern-day viewers without compromising their franchise. Before we get into the video, I'll personally like to know which is your favorite Spider-Man movie of all time. My personal favorite is the very first one starring Toby Maguire. A History of Spiderman. From 2002 to 2007, we saw the sensational Toby Maguire take the role of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. The franchise itself has a huge success, bagging a total of 20 awards and over 98 nominations. Toby Maguire himself received several awards from his portrayal of Spider-Man. In 2012 to 2014, Andrew Garfield stepped up as the new Spider-Man for Sony, replacing Toby Maguire. His character, unlike the previous franchise, introduced more physique and abilities for Spider-Man. The franchise itself was successful, especially on box office launch. However, this franchise differs from its predecessor in more ways than none, one of which includes a main character in Gwen Stacy, dying at the end of Part 2. It is unclear what Sony's reason for that was, but we have to deal with it. 2016 to present was the era of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, which saw him cross paths with other characters in the world of Marvel Comics, boasting a huge success in awards and nomination along with massive box office launches. This franchise gave Spider-Man fans a run for their money.
Wait a minute, you guys aren't the real Avengers. Hulk gives it away. New move I'm working on? Not bad. God, this feels so strange!
Now that you have more insight into the three main movie franchise, let's talk about how to successfully bring these characters and actors together in one movie. We first have to take into consideration the fact that these franchises are completely different universes. They do not continue each other's stories nor complement each other in any way. Another key point is the timeline in which they are set. To make a plot for this movie, Tom Holland's Spider-Man universe will be the main focus. Now you may be wondering why that is the case. Well, it's not that complicated if you think about it. Universe 3, regarding Tom Holland's universe, simply has a lot going on for it right now. From the Marvel crossover in Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, and more, fans will find it easier to understand something already following a storyline, rather than taking the story to another timeline entirely. The plot begins with Peter Parker from both Universe 1 and 2 teleported to Universe 3 as a supernatural embodiment for its Peter Parker. I'm sure you must be wondering, why choose a story like this? Why not just use a crossover like in the cartoon Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, or the hit video game Spider-Man Miles Morales? Well, it never hurts being different. A point to bear in mind is that following a particular or similar trend tends to be boring. Sure, it can be a cool movie in the end, that doesn't stop the plot from being predictable. Now that we have that out of the way, let's get back to the plot. As you all know, the previous Spider-Man franchise never actually met anyone from the Avengers. In their universe, it is assumed that they exist but have not necessarily teamed up to become the Avengers. Having the plot set in Universe 3 is sure to expose them to more help from the Avengers. We can end up having someone like Doctor Strange being tagged along for the story, since it is based off a supernatural event. Alright, so I decided to use a supernatural means to connect three dimensions, but what exactly can cause such a crossing? Well, we can assume both Doctor Strange and Spider-Man on a mission together. And Spidey got hit with some weird magic which split his personality into three parts. A scenario like this can lead to this plot. Another possible cause can be both Toby Maguire and Andrew Garfield were forced into Universe 3 by an interdimensional portal, but since Universe 3 still had its Peter Parker, they ended up being mere manifestations. Marvel Comics have always been one for introducing some great crossovers, so making something of this nature work out won't be a problem for them. I, for one, would like to see how all three Peter Parkers connect with each other, even though they have the same mind. Although the main antagonist of the movie will have to be a villain from the Doctor Strange franchise, since he will be very much a part of this type of plot. Even though I highly favor the plot earlier discussed, a second plot in which they all act as separate characters can be done as well. Unlike the plot earlier discussed, this will be rather easy to make. It involves the use of time travel, and surprise surprise, Doctor Strange is involved again. This movie will be based off the principle of reincarnation. By that, I mean it will be based off of a single universe, where Toby Maguire was the first Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield was the second, and Tom Holland was the current. It is set in a universe where everyone believes Spider-Man was immortal, because in every generation he was always there. This creates a belief that right from day one, it has always been one Spider-Man alone, unknown to the world that it was a passed ability from one person to another. So how does Doctor Strange get involved? We can say he set out on a time travel quest to save his present-day Peter Parker by connecting him with his roots. We can even go as far as saying Tom Holland becomes a temporary antagonist under a supernatural influence in the movie until his past counterparts get through to him. Marvel is definitely going to take into consideration a potential Spideyverse crossover. They tend to explore stories such as this, and with the massive success of Spider-Man Miles Morales, odds are the community will be demanding for a similar kind of story soon. So, what do you think a potential Spider-Man 4 could be? Do you agree with the plot ideas from this video? Share your thoughts and ideas in the comments section below. Also, if you haven't already, do like and subscribe to the channel for more updates in the world of movie news.